sat alone in his office on a late Friday evening, the soft hum of the fluorescent lights above creating a sterile atmosphere that matched his growing unease. He sifted through candidate profiles for a new management role at his eco-friendly chemical company, trying to focus on the task at hand. Yet, the familiar weight of uncertainty pressed against his chest, a feeling he couldn't shake. As regional director, he had invested years into building a successful career and a stable family life. Or so he thought. His marriage to Vanessa had weathered its fair share of storms over 2 decades, from financial strains to the challenges of raising 2 spirited children, Cassie and Ella. Vanessa, an executive assistant to the county's district attorney, had always thrived in her role, exhibiting a powerful presence that demanded respect. Standing at 5'7" with auburn hair and a piercing gaze, she was a force in both her professional and personal life. Ethan admired her ambition, yet recently, she had seemed distant, her laughter replaced with a silence that gnawed at his insides. Thursday nights had become a ritual for Vanessa, a time when she would go out with friends. While this had been a consistent aspect of their lives for years, Ethan could no longer dismiss the unsettling change in her demeanor. He recalled a rainy evening during a drive back from their anniversary trip when Vanessa had broached the topic of an open marriage. The suggestion had shocked Ethan, igniting a whirlwind of confusion and fear. He brushed it off as a fleeting thought born from stress or boredom. But deep down, he sensed a hidden turmoil beneath her carefully constructed facade. When he returned to work that week, Ethan's intuition only deepened. Over lunch with his assistant and trusted confidant, Jennifer, he voiced his suspicions. Jennifer, empathetic and observant, urged him to keep things discreet while encouraging him to learn more about Vanessa's Thursday night outings. For the first time, Ethan felt he had an ally, a partner in unraveling the mystery that had begun to consume him. Unbeknownst to Ethan, those Thursday nights were not spent with friends. Instead, Vanessa was meeting her longtime lover, Derek Harper, a charismatic attorney with a reputation for womanizing. Derek, her superior at the DA's office, had swept Vanessa off her feet years ago. Their affair had begun with innocent after-hours drinks. But as the weeks turned into months, their connection deepened, morphing into a clandestine relationship filled with passion and secrecy. Derek embodied a thrill that Vanessa had longed for, a reckless escape from her structured life, and their meetings felt like a forbidden dance where the stakes grew higher with each encounter. As the weeks rolled on, Ethan's suspicions morphed into an obsession. He noticed Vanessa's evasiveness whenever he broached the subject of her Thursday outings. His intuition nagged at him like an itch he couldn't scratch, prompting him to hire a private investigator. After a week of covert surveillance, Ethan received a file that would shatter his world. Inside were photographs of Vanessa with Derek smiling, laughing, and lost in each other's eyes. The truth hit him harder than he had anticipated. She had betrayed him. Anger and heartbreak coiled tightly within him. But Ethan understood that confronting her directly wouldn't be enough. She needed to understand the depth of the hurt she had caused, and he decided to take it slow, gathering more evidence before orchestrating his plan for revealing their secrets publicly. Ethan shared his plans with Jennifer, who had her own history of betrayal. She was all too eager to help him gather evidence and craft a strategy to expose Vanessa and Derek's infidelity. Together, they outlined steps that would strip them of the power they had held so smugly over him. Ethan, once a passive participant in his life, was now a man on a mission. He discreetly slipped his name to influential community members, ensuring that whispers of Vanessa and Derek's actions would reach the right ears. He orchestrated a chance encounter at a popular restaurant where he accidentally ran into Vanessa and Derek during a late lunch, acting as though he didn't recognize Derek. Ethan kept his interaction brief but laden with unspoken tension, relishing the idea of planting the seeds of doubt in both of their minds. That evening, as they drove home, Vanessa attempted to maintain her composure, but Ethan could sense her unease. He chose this moment to bring up her Thursday nights, subtly hinting that he was aware of her lies. However, rather than confronting her outright, Ethan decided to let her unravel on her own. He turned his attention to the ancestral DNA kit they had ordered for their children, knowing the results would confirm what he had suspected for months, that one of their children wasn't biologically his. 2 weeks later, the DNA results arrived and Ethan felt his heart sink as he read them. They revealed that his youngest daughter, Ella, shared a paternal link with Derek. Heartbroken but composed, he realized he now had everything he needed to confront Vanessa. Knowing his children deserved the truth, he carefully explained the situation to them in an age-appropriate manner. He wanted them to understand the severity of their mother's actions and the implications for their family. Ethan arranged a family meeting, gathering everyone in the living room where he presented the evidence to Vanessa. The tension in the air was palpable as he laid bare the photographs and DNA results, leaving no room for lies. Stunned and defensive, Vanessa initially attempted to deny everything, her voice wavering as the reality of her choices began to settle in. When confronted with undeniable proof, she broke down, pleading for another chance, but Ethan's expression remained cold and unmoved. He had made up his mind. There was no going back. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Vanessa felt the weight of her humiliation and betrayal. She tried to reconcile with Derek, desperate to reclaim a semblance of her former life. But he quickly distanced himself, fearing the fallout from the scandal that was bound to unfold. Alone and stripped of her reputation, Vanessa resolved not to go down quietly. She was determined to reclaim her position in the community, no matter the cost. Using her contacts in the legal world, Vanessa filed for divorce, seeking a substantial portion of Ethan's assets. But Ethan had anticipated this move. He had strategically positioned his finances in a way that made her claims difficult to fulfill. With Jennifer's help, he meticulously documented every interaction with Vanessa, ensuring he had ample evidence to counter her demands. As news of the affair spread, the scandal surrounding Vanessa and Derek reached a fever pitch. Local newspapers ran stories on the DA's alleged misconduct, and Derek found himself under intense scrutiny from his superiors. Meanwhile, Ethan continued to manage his company with quiet dignity, moving forward while Vanessa and Derek faced the consequences of their actions. Ethan's story resonated with the community, and he found himself receiving unexpected support from friends, colleagues, and even strangers. His calm resilience in the face of betrayal inspired others, and his company flourished as the narrative of his integrity unfolded. Months after the divorce was finalized, Ethan felt a sense of peace wash over him. He continued his work with renewed purpose, grateful for the love and support of his children. Vanessa, however, found her life spiraling further out of control. The affair and divorce had shattered her reputation, leading to her termination at the DA's office due to her association with Derek. As the consequences of her choices became apparent, she struggled to rebuild her life. Grappling with feelings of loneliness and regret, Ethan dedicated his time to fostering a positive environment for his family. Cassie, now a university student with dreams of working in law, leaned heavily on her father's strength and resilience. Inspired by Ethan's integrity, she navigated the family crisis with grace, determined to rise above the turmoil. At work, Ethan channeled the energy he once put into his marriage into building new relationships and expanding his company's reach. He began hosting leadership seminars for young professionals, imparting the lessons he had learned through both business and life. The experience transformed him, and the challenges only seemed to strengthen his resolve. Meanwhile, Jennifer, who had been instrumental in Ethan's journey through the divorce, encouraged him to embrace new opportunities for connection. They began meeting occasionally for dinners or coffee, their discussions ranging from work projects to shared experiences in navigating difficult relationships. Although they kept things platonic, a deeper bond formed. And for the first time in years, Ethan allowed himself to imagine a future with someone who genuinely understood him. In stark contrast, Vanessa found herself cut off from many of her previous social circles. The fallout from her affair had left her reputation in ruins. And with Dererick moving away to escape the scandal, she was left to shoulder the consequences alone. Unable to keep her job at the DA's office, she took a position in a small law firm far from her original field of expertise, struggling to find her footing in a world that had turned its back on her. One evening, while glancing through a local paper, Vanessa saw a familiar name. Ethan's company had received an award for environmental impact, and his success was celebrated widely. Seeing him thrive only intensified her feelings of resentment and jealousy. The bitter realization that she had lost not only her marriage but also her social standing ignited a fire within her. She began plotting ways to reinsert herself into his life, hoping to regain some of her former influence. Meanwhile, Cassie began interning at a nearby law firm. Inspired by her father's values and resilience, while organizing old files, she stumbled upon documents related to her mother's workplace investigation, revealing the extent of Vanessa's misconduct. Shocking details unfolded about shady financial transactions and questionable behavior during work hours, hinting at her complicity in furthering Dererick's interests. Cassie grappled with the decision of whether to tell her father about what she had discovered. Although she knew the affair had hurt him deeply, she felt a moral obligation to uncover the truth. Ultimately, she resolved to keep the documents for now, determined to act only if her mother crossed another line. Desperate to reclaim her former life, Vanessa began showing up unannounced at her children's events, weaving tales of regret and seeking forgiveness. Ella, the youngest and most vulnerable, found herself caught in her mother's web of manipulation, often swept up by Vanessa's emotional appeals. However, Cassie's loyalty to her father remained unshakable, and she acted as a protective shield, preventing Vanessa from getting too close. One night, in a moment of desperation, Vanessa confronted Ethan directly, showing up outside his house and pleading for a chance to talk things over. Ethan met her at the door, his expression unreadable as she poured out her heart, attempting to spin a tale of regret and promises to change. When she hinted at rekindling their relationship for the sake of the children, Ethan's patience finally wore thin. "Vanessa," he said, his voice calm but firm, "there's nothing left to talk about. The choices you made have consequences, and now you're living them. I won't sacrifice my integrity or my children's trust by giving you another chance." Vanessa stormed away, anger morphing into a hardened resolve. If she couldn't regain her old life, she was determined to make Ethan pay for moving on without her. Using the last of her resources, Vanessa decided to file a lawsuit against Ethan, seeking a larger portion of his assets and even custody of Ella, believing that controlling one child would grant her leverage. She hired a ruthless lawyer, known for employing underhanded tactics, hoping to unsettle Ethan and force him to make concessions. However, Ethan's careful documentation and Jennifer's invaluable support fortified his defense, weakening Vanessa's case. During the court proceedings, Cassie revealed the file she had unearthed, providing irrefutable proof of Vanessa's unethical behavior. The courtroom fell silent as her mother's deceit was laid bare, painting a vivid picture of a woman who had betrayed not only her husband, but also her professional obligations. The case closed swiftly with Ethan awarded full custody of his children and Vanessa restricted from making further financial claims. Humiliated, Vanessa found herself ostracized and alone. Her attempts to manipulate and control the situation had backfired spectacularly, leaving her isolated from the life she once took for granted. With the legal battles behind him, Ethan focused on creating a nurturing environment for his family. His connection with Jennifer deepened and they gradually opened up to the possibility of a future together. Cassie, inspired by her father's strength, excelled in her internship and began making strides toward law school. Determined to build a life rooted in the values Ethan had modeled for her. The scars left by Vanessa's betrayal would always remain. But for Ethan and his children, the pain transformed into resilience and renewal. Their bond strengthened by the trials they had faced together. Ethan embraced this new chapter of life with gratitude. He understood that while he couldn't erase the past, he possessed the power to shape a better future. Meanwhile, Vanessa continued to live on the fringes of society, grappling with the consequences of her choices and watching as the life she once knew moved forward without her. The world around her had moved on, leaving her to face the truth of her actions alone. In a poignant twist of fate, a year after the divorce, Ethan found himself invited to speak at a community event, sharing his journey of resilience and integrity. As he spoke, he realized how far he had come, not just in his professional life, but also as a father and a person. His story inspired many, reminding everyone that while life could be tumultuous, integrity and honesty always prevailed in the end. As the sun set over the horizon that day, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had rebuilt his life, created a loving environment for his children, and forged a path that was uniquely his own. In that moment, he knew he was not defined by his past, but by the strength he found in moving forward.